Good afternoon.
Hi, Carla, Raja.
Hi, Roberto.
Hi.
Roberto.
I'll step in when Roland or Raja tell me, or you tell me on command.
It's usually when we can't answer some of the questions. But thank you, Roberto, for joining.
I wanted to take a break from.
Speaking of break, do you want to go to Tunisia in June, 8 to 12?
To do what?
JEE.
What?
I'm helping you take a break.
No, for what?
JEE. You can pick anything you want.
That's another business.
Because you need to be a French speaker or Arabic speaker. But you speak French, so it's okay.
Yeah, if there is nobody, yes. If there is nobody going, like a last resort, yes. If you can't find anybody.
And do you have a preference in your technical area?
I improvise usually.
Perfect. So we do POE, legislation.
Random, okay. I can see.
That's perfect. Okay.
Is it already open? Dr. Kola, we have 15 participants.
Good morning, good evening, colleagues, depending on where you're joining from. So we just want to use this unique opportunity to brief you or to provide information to you on the state parties self-assessment annual reporting tool. As you are aware, we have versions 1 and 2 before now, but based on the current recent developments in the public health space, like IHR amendment, pandemic agreement documents, this has been reviewed to reflect the current changes. Because of time, it's going to be a very straightforward meeting, and it's going to be focused on the subject. Before we start, I would like to take you through the housekeeping WHO code of conduct. Please know that WHO is committed to enabling events at which everyone can participate in an inclusive, respectful, and safe environment. WHO events are guided by the highest ethical and professional standards, and all participants are expected to behave with integrity and respect towards all participants attending or involved in any WHO event. So please note that the interpretation service is available in English and French. I don't know, Dr. Bukhari, if you have had Portuguese. I know we had challenges with the Portuguese interpreters. Please use the Q&A box for questions regarding the topic and presentations. Use the chat feature for general introductions and questions regarding IT and logistics. The chat may also be used by presenters to share important links, contact information, and so forth. To take the floor, use the raise hand feature. As you can see, raise hand feature is here. The moderator will invite you to talk once you do that. By participating in this meeting as a participant or as a panelist, we take your attendance as permission to record your contributions and share the recording via various channels for learning purposes. Few days following the webinar, we are going to share with you the PowerPoint presentations and the recording with you. So we also collect data, registration, participation, Q&A, comments, poll, and reactions. Please take note of this. Your individual data will be kept confidential, and these data are used for MIE purposes only. Quickly, before we do a quick round of introduction, especially among the AQ team, I would like to quickly provide the objectives of this webinar. Number one is to provide participants, that's the WHO country office colleagues, and of course, regional office colleagues, with a structured overview of the revised tool, highlighting key updates introduced to ensure alignment with the 2024 IHR amendments. Engage participants in a systematic review of the draft tool and gather input on the structure, indicators, and usability, and identify areas requiring refinement before finalization. Build shared understanding among participants on how the revised SPAR will function as a monitoring and evaluation instrument, clarify timelines leading to the October 2026 launch, and outline critical next steps for integration into state parties reporting process. So these are the objectives for this session. And this is the agenda. Like I mentioned earlier at the beginning, the PAM emergency preparedness is inevitably absent because of other and equally important engagements. There's an ongoing session with the country offices colleagues on EVD preparedness. So that's why Dr. Lat on the call will be providing his welcome. This is the agenda that we're going to follow for this meeting. And now, thank you so much. On this note, let me invite Dr. Lat Anderson, who is also a technical officer in our unit, WHO AFRO preparedness unit, to give our opening remarks on behalf of Dr. Dick. Over to you, Dr. Lat.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kola. I hope I can be heard.
I can hear you from your side.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good. Dear colleagues from the WHO Regional Office for Africa, colleagues from WHO country offices, distinguished participants from member state and partner organizations, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. On behalf of Dr. Dick Shamla, our program area manager from Health Emergency Pandemic and Threat Preparedness Program within AFRO, I warmly welcome you all from the regional office to this important information session. I recognize that the Ebola outbreak is ongoing, and I sincerely appreciate your continued commitment and effort to support health emergency preparedness and response activities during this challenging time. Over the past 2 years, 2 major international instruments have been adopted, which are the Pandemic Agreement and the amendment of the International Health Regulations. These developments mark a significant evolution in global health governance. It is therefore essential that we reflect these changes in our core capacity assessment, ensuring that the revised state party self-assessment annual reporting tool fully aligns with the new obligations and expectations. I encourage you to provide timely, structured feedback during this session and even during, the revision of this tool, and you provide your insights which can be captured and incorporated into the final document. Your contributions are vital to ensuring the tool is practical, relevant, and effective. I wish you a fruitful and engagement meeting, and I look forward to the valuable discussions and input that will shape our collective path forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lat, for that very great remarks. As he mentioned in the opening remark, he said that we need your inputs, we need your contribution to shape these documents towards the October launch of this document. So please, colleagues, let's be together, let's pay attention to this presentation, because after this presentation, we are going to share with you the feedback and the tools for your input. Thank you so much again, Dr. Lat, for that welcome remarks. So I think the next item we have on the agenda is to look at the rationale. What are the highlights of this third edition of SPAR? What are the major elements in this third edition. And on this note, before we go to that, a few people within the AQ team, they've been working tirelessly to ensure that they come up with this new, the alignment of the IHR amendment and for pandemic agreements to the SPAR 2.0, now come up with the 3.0 third edition of SPAR. So on this note, I will hand over to Dr. Raj to quickly introduce the team who have been working very tirelessly behind the scene to get to this stage of the third edition of SPAR, this draft of the third edition of SPAR. Over to you, Dr. Raj.
Thank you, Dr. Kola. So I'll be brief. So apologies from Stefan, who wasn't able to join because I think he's joining the same meeting, or he was called to a different meeting for the EVD outbreak. But briefly, I think this is the whole team. So we are, happily joined by Dr. Roberta, who works with the IHR Secretariat and has been tireless over many years, in supporting the work of the IHR, but also the work in developing and giving us inputs on the SPAR. This time around, she was very engaged in the process. So Roberta's online, and she also remembers the discussions that many states parties to the IHR were holding over the past couple of years. So she comes with that depth of knowledge, and that's the depth of knowledge that's actually contributed to the updated SPAR. The other person, of course, is Roland, who you all know very well, who's also been working tirelessly to get this stuff done over the last 4 months, I think. So now this is the rollout period, May, June. So we'll try to get that done. So my name is Raj, and the work that I do is not just it's with the SPAR, the JE, but also the national action plans. And within the unit, we collaborate closely with human-animal bridging workshops that are being done by Stefan and his team, but also with readiness that KB leads, and also with the resource mapping and the national action plan. So within those areas of work, we cover most of this stuff. So I don't know if Roberta or Roland want to add anything that I might have missed, and then.
Good.
Okay. So if not, then we could start the presentation if that works, Dr. Kola.
Thank you so much for that introduction, and of course for the effort put into this. So the next item we have on the agenda is to look at the highlights of the third edition of SPAR, and I think we have a lot to learn from this. On this note, I would like to hand over to Dr. Raj to take us through these highlights of the third edition of SPAR. I will control the slide from my side here. Just let me know when to move to the next slide. Over to you, Dr. Raj.
Thank you very much. So this is just a quick summary of what I'll cover today. So the key messages, and this is basically to get us all on the same page and why we did the revisions and the key changes, then the implications for regional and country offices. So the questions that you may be asked, and we're happy to support you as we move forward, and I'll go to a bit more details of that. Then how the members, how the states parties of the IHR, the various collaborating centers or other technical partners that you have can provide feedback to us in a standardized format, which will make it easier for us to use. And then the timelines and expectations for regional consolidation. Next slide, please. So the key messages, and this is basically for all of us because we have the same questions that get asked to us here. So the key messages is that the SPAR is an update. It's not a replacement. We're not replacing anything. We're just updating it, and the architecture stays the same. So we still have the 5 levels. We have the common box. We have all of those components. We have an inclusion of yes/no questions in this version, which I'll touch on a bit later. And everything else stays the same. Just a quick background. What we did initially was that we looked at the amendments, and based on the amendments to the IHR, we considered what changes needed to be made in the existing version of the SPAR. And then after that, we sat with each of the technical teams or the technical leads in HQ, and we sat with them on multiple occasions to then justify or get their advice on the changes that needed to be made and the changes that we would like to make. And so this consolidated work includes not only the work that we did during this process, but also the work that was done by the various technical teams. So as regional office and country offices, you have the you will get a lot of the key questions. So you become the critical link for not only distributing the draft, but also supporting the consultations that happen and submitting the consolidated feedback to HQ. So we have developed not only supporting documents and FAQs, but also a standardized form that can be used to give us feedback. And this is basically so that it makes it easy for us to focus on the core technical area, the type of feedback that needs to be given, or the type of advice that countries want to give, and how we can review this consistently across all states parties globally. So what we'll do at the end of this process, we can go ahead. But what we'll do at the end of this process is also make available a report that basically talks about the changes that were recommended, and the changes that we accepted, and the changes that we did not. So we'll do that towards the end of this process. So we are always there to support the work of regional offices and country office. So feel free to contact us, and I'll say that a couple of times during this presentation. Next slide, please. So this slide was developed basically because of some of the questions, because we have presented to WIPRO, CRO, PAHO, and Euro. So based on the feedback that we got from them initially, we thought we'd just come up front and just mention a few things. So the SPAR will continue to, it's a living tool, and it'll continue to evolve. So part of this is this evolution is happening based on the amendments to the IHR. And based on that, we also took an opportunity to not only align it with the amendments, but also to clarify the linkages between the indicators and IHR requirements. So I'll just talk about the right side of the slide first, and I'll jump back to the left side of the slide. So we also looked at, there were certain technical areas and indicators that had to be updated and changed based on the amendments. But then we also took the opportunity to reduce the ambiguity in wording, so to reduce and remove the use of qualifiers within this and link it tighter with what we wanted to learn from countries and closer to the IHR. So we also try to avoid the overly complex or duplicative capacity assessments. So when we looked at all of these capacities, you'll see that the logic flow is stronger, or we feel that the logic flow is stronger than it was before. And there are cross-cutting features that run all through the document. So that's something that can be very useful. The other two key things that the integration with the health systems and national structures. So the updated indicators emphasize this linkage with the health system strengthening and with the national systems. So we are looking at that, and reinforcing the IHR implementation is not a standalone vertical program. It's really linked to the national system, including the national health systems. So the other concern that has come up from various regions and technical teams also is preserving the comparability through trend analysis. So while the indicators have changed and we've updated them, we will work on, once we finalize the document, we will work on trying to make sure that we can track trends over time and making sure that it links to the GPW 14 and any other technical area that uses this data from the SPAR for the work that they do, or the strategic plans that they do within their teams and departments. So as an explanation for all of the work that's been done, what we're trying to say is that as a living tool, this tool will continue to evolve. So and when we first came out with this tool in 2009, 2010, we had a bunch of yes/no questions for those who remember. And we used that for 6 or 7 years. And then when we had the initial outbreak of EVD, then we updated the indicators based on the recommendations of the review committee. And then we started this 5-level process. And then we updated this again in 2022. So we consider 2021, sorry. And we consistently keep updating this. So this tool will continue to evolve. So I just wanted to mention that this isn't the first time that it's happening. And the planning, and this is linked to the comparability and through trend analysis, the planning cannot be linked rigidly to the SPAR alone. It has to be designed to, it's there to support the thinking and the strategies behind the planning, as opposed to be used as a direct link to planning. So part of the amendments to this tool also means that the broader scope is aligned with the full IHR framework. So you'll see that the tool is now more holistic, and it has a more coherent approach for everyone that's very technical in this group. So we're going from just performance scoring to capacity assessment. So the indicators were revised to be less performance oriented and more focused on the existing. So if the capacity actually exists within the country, and the strength, the sustainability, and the multi-sectoral engagement of the implementation of the IHR provisions. So it takes that more holistic approach towards this. Next slide, please. So as I touched on briefly, so why was it revised? So the key thing was it was legal, right? So the WHA 7717 adopted the IHR 2024 amendments, and it entered into force on the 19th of September 2025. Since then, towards the end of last year, beginning of this year, we started reviewing and looking at what the amendments would mean to the SPAR. So the new version of the SPAR, the third version of the SPAR, now reflects the new legal obligations from the first reporting cycle. And that first reporting cycle is from October 1st of this year. So a quick summary. So the 27 of the 66 existing articles with 3 new definitions under Article 1 were changed, as were 6 of the 9 existing annexes, and 2 new articles were added. So the key elements, and we'll touch on this a bit later as well, is that there is an establishment of a National IHR Authority. And within Annex 1 and Annex 2, you'll see the addition of prevention, preparedness, and health services and risk communication. Annex 2, you'll see that the way poliomyelitis is changed from due to wild poliovirus to poliomyelitis due to polioviruses. And the use of non-digital and digital health documents are still under consultation. So these might be things that are added in the future. So you'll also notice that the section on gender is gone, but it's incorporated within the commitment to equity and solidarity. So within that article is where it's not explicit, but it's within that article. We talk about equity and solidarity. And we also include the bits on strengthening access to relevant health products, which was something that was negotiated during this process of the amendments, and the establishment of States Parties Committee for the implementation of IHRs. So that also, I think, there may be questions on that, and I'll be happy to get Roberta's reflections on that. And of course, the coordinating financial mechanism, which is also something that's kind of being discussed as we speak. Next slide, please. So the key changes, for those of you who are familiar with SPAR, we went from yes/no questions in 2009 to 2010 to the technical areas. And this time around, what we have is we've grouped this under 3 key sections. So the main sections are an expanded domestic governance. So the legislation and all those components fit within that expanded section of the IHR domestic governance. And then we have the core capacities that's encompassed by Part A of Annex 1, and which is where you'll find all the core capacities that you're familiar with. And you'll see that the border health has also gotten bigger and expanded. And this is where a lot of the new yes/no questions also exist. So as I mentioned 2 or 3 slides previously, that the indicator logic has been updated and the maturity levels also have been updated. So I won't go through the list of the new indicators, but we do retain the 5 levels. But on the right side, you'll see a list of the new indicators, or most of the new indicators that we've added to the SPAR. Okay. I'm just pausing for a minute in case someone's reading. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Next slide, please, Dr. Gola.
Thank you.
So, as I mentioned at the start of this, so some of the implications are the regional consultation and the questions that may come your way, and we are happy to support you in answering these questions during these presentations or even after, if they come in written or other formats, is the new legal and institutional requirements. So the NIA that were introduced during these amendments, how to designate, how to establish, and what's expected before the October 1st of 2026. And then the accountability for SPAR submission, replacing the national focal point. So these might be the types of questions that may come up, and we're happy to support you in answering that. And the others are the implications for for supporters, also how to transition between the NIA and NFP. So to a large extent, the NFP was only there for communications in the past. So the NIA's roles have expanded, and I think that can be clarified as needed with the states parties. And also clarifying the internal coordination and the authorization arrangements and the scope of authority of the NIA versus the NFP. The other questions that we've received from regional offices, and we've added that here's the score comparability considerations, that comparing directly between indicators from the previous SPAR to this SPAR is going to be difficult. But as I mentioned before, once we finalize this question of the SPAR, we'll track this to make sure that we can create some kind of a logic for comparability between scores to track capacity. It'll be the same for the global strategy alignment, because many of our indicators, as we know, were linked to the GPW14 outputs. And for other technical tools like the Pandemic Fund and other tools globally that we're using the indicators of the SPAR to track annual progress by countries. Next slide, please. So I'll just go through the regional office, country office, and headquarters. So this is basically what's expected, and these are the key points, and there may be more, there may be less, but the key things are that regional offices will be engaging with the countries in their region. So part of this is we're happy to support presenting these slides to the countries as well. And regional offices will determine what the most appropriate modalities for engaging states parties. And part of the reason for saying that is that we've noticed that each of the various regional offices have different ways of engaging with their states parties. Some of them hold sub-regional consultations, some of them have group consultations, or they just support certain member states that have questions that they want. So whatever works for AFRO, we are happy to support that if needed, and we'll have AFRO decide on how they want to move forward with how they engage with the states parties. Sorry, Dr. Kola, did you have a question?
No, that's great.
Okay, so what we've done, the work that we've done over the past few months have also included developing some reference documents. So there's 4 to 5 key reference documents that are there as well. So we will, and a SharePoint site that's been developed so that all of these documents will be parked in one place. So you'll have access to all of this, and if there are any other updates or additions to the support documents, we're happy to provide that as well. So what we'd like to see, so that we can have some kind of feedback in the future, is that the regional office tracks who's giving input in the sense of the country and the role within that country, or if it's a collaborating center, or if it's a partner, a technical partner that's giving comments on this. We'd like to track that so that when we give feedback, we'll be able to say that we had contributions from these various countries and from external partners and technical partners that gave contributions to this tool. We have timelines that Roland will touch on towards the end of this, but we would like each regional officer to give us one consolidated feedback. So basically, under each of the technical areas, each section, the various comments all grouped so that we can then look at all of the 6 regional offices together and then work our way through all of the inputs that we've received and then keep what we think is going to be helpful and then be able to justify why we didn't accept some of the others. Next slide, please. So for the countries, what we'd like to just emphasize is that the whole tool should be looked at. In the past, it was easy enough for technical experts to just look at their area of work, so just the lab or just legislation or just points of entry. But as mentioned in the initial slides, there's a lot of cross-cutting areas. So what we would like to see is states parties doing a read through the whole document, because this way they'll understand that there might be areas that they see they consider as missing, but they are covered in other technical areas, or there's references made within other technical areas. So we would appreciate if states parties and people that are giving input to review the whole document. And for the regional offices as well, so that it's easy for them to get comments rather than track change documents. It'll be great if the regional offices would get structured feedback using the template that's being provided. And if there's any clarifications from technical experts or from HQ, feel free to contact us through the regional office, and we're happy to respond. We have a list of all of the technical leads that supported the development of this SPAR. So if there are specific technical questions on lab or POE or anything like that, let us know, and we'll make sure that they're in touch with the technical focal points. Roberta reminded me in the past that many of the technical team, okay, maybe not many, but some of the technical teams here have been in touch with their counterparts in the regional offices when they were giving input to this. So that would make this conversation easier if there are questions that come back. But either way, if there's a technical question on any of the technical areas, let us know, and then we'll try to get an answer back to you as soon as possible. Next slide, please. Okay, so from our end, we've updated the tool. I think AFRO is the last witness. We did Emerald? No. Emerald. Yeah. So we've done almost all the regions now, and so we've done the briefing. We've developed the support documents, the FAQs, and all of the other documents that align with this, the SharePoint site, and we have the roster for the technical focal points here. What we will do now is to continue to support in the background while countries give their feedback. And once we receive this feedback, then we'll review this carefully by technical area from all of the regions, and then see what we include, update, or not include, and why we don't include them. So then we'll update all of the regional offices on the changes and the final version of the tool. And then our next step over the summer is to then update the eSPAR and then do the translations of the SPAR, so we can move forward with that. Next slide, please. I'll hand over to Roland, if that's okay, Dr. Kola.
Thank you very much, Dr. Raj, for that comprehensive presentation on the third edition of SPAR. We can see the new elements that have been added, and of course, what is expected of different levels, regional office, country office, and of course, the member states. So on this note, I would like to invite the next presenter. Who is presenting on behalf of the HQ? Dr. Raj? Dr. Roland?
Yes, so
to take us through the timeline. Over to you, Dr. Roland.
yes. So as you can see, we have some milestones over the period May 11 to June 21. We had initiated the distribution of the draft to all the regions, and we started these information sessions. And so we are hoping that going forward, even though we are already May 26, but we have a timeline for June 21 to get the consolidated feedback from each of the regional offices, which means that the state parties in your region should have received the draft document and obtained guidance. We have created forms that we shared as well when we sent the draft for revision, and they're on a SharePoint site. That site, those forms are relevant to collect data. They are not obligatory, but we thought that it would be easier to harmonize, to have a harmonized way of collecting feedback across the globe. Some other regions have adapted those forms to meet their specific context, especially the forms that go to member states that have been reviewed. However, the form that we're going to get from the regional office, the consolidated form, would appreciate if you use that so that we have that consolidated form from all the 6 regions which we are going to work with beginning June 21. So between June 21 and June 30th, you see that we have not a long time to integrate the feedback from all 6 regions. So we really hope that that deadline of June 21 will be respected, because by the time we get into July, we should have had a final version that we circle around for clearance, translation, and in the same time start to prepare the platform so that it can go live October 1st. So our timelines are pretty tight right now. So however you choose to organize your consultation with the member states, bear in mind that by June 21, we'll be expecting to get a consolidated feedback from AFRO in this particular case. And it's the same information that we've shared with other regions so that we are looking into all the feedbacks at the same time. Next slide. So that's the SharePoint site that we're seeing, and we've shared the link. You'll see there you have all the key documents that you need to use for this exercise on that platform, and what we are calling the feedback survey. So we have what is going to regional offices. There's one form for all 6 regional offices, and then there's a form for member states. So, and each region has a form that we can share with the member states. If they use the form directly from the site, it automatically collects the data and provides you a common platform for you to review all your feedback in one place. Because it also does some kind of analysis in terms of where we have the yes, no, and agree or don't agree, that kind of quantitative, give you a percentage of no's and yes and things like that. So that's the advice. Now, if you want to take it off the platform and do it somewhere else, that's fine. But you have to figure out how to conduct your compilation within your region. Now we've granted access to all regional office colleagues that are focal points for this exercise. But if there are other colleagues you want them to have access to this, please, those who will be supporting this exercise in AFRO, let us know so that we'll give them admin rights. The admin rights is so that they can modify the form, they can have access to the data so when countries submit, and they can use that information for the compilation. Next slide, please. That's still showing you just what the feedback form would look like. So that's just an example, but everybody is using that same. So that's pretty much it. The timelines again are very tight. So please, we respect and we cannot underestimate the workload, especially for those countries that are involved or directly or indirectly affected with the Ebola response and other outbreaks. But it'll be good for you to identify focal points in each member state that you work with, or some group of people who are not directly 100% taken up in the response actions, so that you can have an objective feedback. We'll have to say at some point, if we don't get a feedback from a region, we'll proceed, because we as Secretariat, we need to have this go live come October 1st. Yeah, so that's it from us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Sorry, Dr.
Raj?
Ola, if I could just ask Dr. Roberta if we've forgotten anything, just to complete the loop. Roberta?
Apologies. Thank you, Raj and colleagues. I think we have covered the basis for now. Over. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So thank you so much to the HQ team for that comprehensive overview of the third edition of SPAR. As you can hear from the presenters, we have a very tight deadline, so which we have to meet up with. That means that all hands have to be on deck to ensure that we keep to these timelines. So I'll agree with you, Mr. Roland, that it's better to use the SharePoint, the link that you have already on the site, so that which auto-analyze. It analyzes the information on its own instead of creating another one. So we are going to use that one. And if you notice what we have on the agenda, we have set aside 20 minutes for Q&A, because we know that there will be question and answers. If you have anything for clarification, I think it's time for us to discuss that now. So without much ado, colleagues on the call, I can't see because I can't see those on the call. Please, if you have any question, please feel free to ask. And you may also want to drop your questions in the chat box, Q&A box. Do we have any question already?
Yeah.
Mr.
Yes.
Dr. Lack,
Yes.
I want over to you to coordinate this session of Q&A. Over to you.
Yes. Thank you, Kola. Thank you, Raj, Roland, and Roland for the presentations. So we do have two questions in the Q&A. Let me start with these two questions before we give maybe the floor to colleagues who are raising their hands. The first one is saying, so polioviruses include VDPVs, which is vaccine-derived polioviruses.
Yes, yeah, okay. The answer is yes to that. Maybe you can read the two questions.
Okay, the second one is, so it's in French, let me just translate quickly. It's imperative that NFP and NIA, National IHR Focal Point, and National IHR Authority be properly briefed on their roles, and those two entities are complementary. It's important, they're important for IHR implementation, and to indicate the strategic and operational role, which need to be properly established. These are the two questions.
So maybe we can respond to those two questions before we move to those that raised their hands already. I will start with the first one. We had the regional consultation meeting in Johannesburg from 31st of March to 2nd of April this year. And we're able to clarify that question on the polio. The Annex 2 is about IHR decision instruments, which enables countries to assess the events within their jurisdiction and determine whether those events are to be notified. So that's one of the changes made to that Annex 2 of the IHR amendments. I will refer you to that. So it now includes both type of viruses for polio. Yes, this is important. This was also clarified to one of the member states last year, towards the end of last year, when they reported polio virus, and they were asking us about this, that do they need to report for either of these two viruses? I would say yes, that it now incorporates the two viruses. For the IHR and for the NIA, Roberta may also want to step in. Two of them, they are really complementary and they have to work together. So each member state is expected to have a kind of institutional arrangement in terms of how these two entities will have to complement each other. There was one example given by Roberta yesterday when I discussed with her regarding the border closure based on the current Ebola outbreak, that at this point, this might be above the role of course, of the National IHRNFP, whose role is mainly around event-based notification. So if you have already established or designated National IHR Authority, that could be, this kind of discussion can actually happen between the two, NFP and NIA, for them to elevate or to escalate it to the higher level, because we expect the National IHR Authority to be more positioned to be at the political level. So with this kind of border closure decision, which is not really in line with the requirement of IHR. So if there are rationale for that, of course, we want to know whether there are there's a science behind this kind of action. So there is need for them to work together. It's very, very important. Their roles are complementary. So I agree with the person that put that comment. But Roberta, maybe you want to also add to this. Over.
Thank you, Carla. I think it will take time to all of us, especially at the national level, to make the best out of the establishment of the National IHR Authority, which is an entity that was negotiated, requested, and adopted by the countries themselves. Then please always remember the origins. It's coming from the countries. We are just the secretariat. To that NIA, the introduction of the National IHR Authorities as its origin in all the experiences that we had with past events, large events, and the smaller ones, and all the challenges that the positioning of the National IHR focal point posed, and in some cases continue posing in the management and in being the center of the IHR. All these challenges and inadequacy were captured in the reports of 4 or 5 IHR review committees. Then really what is important is that the NIA is really understood as it was conceived as an opportunity to escalate the level of the IHR, especially to deal with circumstances where the involvement of the political level is needed. The NIA was adopted and proposed by the countries themselves to coordinate everything IHR, but coordinate in the context of the existing planning mechanism, financing mechanism. Having the NIA in a certain political level means having a NIA that is really having an entity that is really in the fabric of the institutional planning and management, without, as Raj alluded to, not having this IHR bubble somewhere else. And most importantly, we have repeated it in many occasions, now that, yes, there are these two entities. These two entities is really a sovereign decision of the country. They can be assigned to the same institution, or if, as they were intended, they are positioned at the near higher level and the NFP at operational level for event communication, then what is critical is not to destroy what is working or what has been working with the NFP alone, and really sitting together and develop this operational arrangement for making the best out of the NIA high position and of the operational aspects of the NFP. The last thing, is absolutely nobody interest in having a NIA and an NFP that do not understand how each other work, because and this is really the step number one, because having an NFP that did not take the time to sit together and to work out a modus operandi may have public health consequences that we wouldn't want to observe. Thank you. Over.
Thank you very much, Roberta. Over to you, Dr. Lat.
Thank you, Roberta, for these clarifications. We have two hands. Let me start with Dr. Ifeanyi from WHO Country Office, Gambia. Dr. Ifeanyi, your hand is up. You have the floor.
Yes. Good afternoon, colleagues. Thank you. I was muted. Yes, I want to thank the presenters for the good presentation. I have one question. I saw in the overview that the indicators were reviewed, and there was emphasis was not more on performance, but more on existence, the strength, and sustainability. So I was wondering how we can look at an indicator with how we can look at the strength and sustainability without seeing how they have performed over the months in the year, in the performing year. For instance, if we choose the workforce surge during a public health event, we don't want to see how they have been deployed and worked over from January to December, but then we want to see their strength. How can we see the strength of an indicator without, first of all, looking at how they have performed over the months, and then from that performance, we can now deduce their strength, and also see whether it is sustainable or not. Thank you.
Okay, so can we go one by one, or we take the question from Dr. Salian from WHO Country Office, Ghana?
Okay, good afternoon, colleagues, and thank you very much for the presentation. So my question is related to, I know we are focusing on the SPAR, but in the past, as the SPAR was being revised, the JE2 was also kind of in tandem being revised. So my question is there also plan to do the same? Because I know some countries may still be doing their JE. Even as we are discussing the SPAR and updating it, is there a plan also to update so that they kind of match each other in the future? Thank you.
Okay, there is also one aunt from Gertrude Chaporeta.
Hello, good afternoon. Mine is in regard to the National IHR Authority that you've added.
Gertrude, either you muted yourself or we can't hear you.
I think she muted herself.
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay. No, my question is in regard to the National IHR Authority. In a previous meeting where there was dissemination of the IHR amendments, there was some clarification sought in regard to the difference between the NIA and NFP, and in response, there was an indication that countries could also choose to have the same institution having the NIA as well as the NFP. I don't know how this would be treated then with the new indicator. Thank you.
Okay, thank you to colleagues who asked the questions. I think let's give back the floor to the panelists to respond to those questions before we go to the next set of questions.
Yeah, thank you, Carla. With respect to the National IHR Authority, yes, as I mentioned earlier, country states parties have the possibility to attribute both the NIA and the NFP functions to the same institution. In that case, nothing changes when it will come to the NIA indicators in the SPAR, because that indicator would be focusing on the functions on the NIA, and there will be an indicator that will be focusing on the functions of the NFP. Now, in terms of functions, is really is secondary to whom those functions are attributed to, as far as they can be discharged. Over.
In addition to what Roberta said, thank you. We have about 2 or 3 countries already, that have designated their IHR NFP as their National IHR Authority already. So the same office functioning as both IHR NFP and NIA, depending on the current positioning of the IHR NFP. So again, it's at the discretion of the country. We have provided guidance already in this regard. Just to add. Over to you, Dr. Lat.
Thank you. Thank you. I think we have the question also from Ifani. I don't know whether this one was responded to.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So,
Go ahead.
Yeah. So the 2 questions. So maybe the one from Gambia first. So would we realize that the qualifiers that we were using in the SPAR could not actually measure performance of a system? So when we developed the IHR monitoring and evaluation framework, we said the SPAR is self-reporting by member states to basically tell us what capacities that they have and at what level of maturity those capacities are, and their capability of working within a system or taking a systems approach to an event, a public health event, that would be measured through either a simulation exercise for a high impact, low probability event, or an after action review to see how the system performed during a real or a simulated event. So that was the difference. And what we inadvertently were trying to do with the SPAR was to try to do both, see what capacities were there and performance. And I don't think that tool could do both of those things at the same time. So that was to respond to the question from Gambia. The question from Ghana, yes. So our first obligation was to get the States Party's annual reporting updated before the October 1st deadline, and I think our focus was on that initially. So our focus will be on the SPAR. Now, based on the feedback that we get from you, your region, your countries in your region, and from the other regions, then based on that, we'll then have a final version from which to look at the update of the JEE. Ideally, the JEE was supposed to look at longer-term indicators of more output, outcome, and impact if they were doing a second round of the JEE, while the States Party's annual reporting, because it was annual, it was looking at shorter-term indicators on capacities that we could actually notice or track a difference from one year to the next. So that was the reason for the 2 tools. But yes, so the simple answer is yes, we will update the JEE after once we finalize the SPAR. Over, back to you, Chair.
Okay. I do not see any other hands. I think we also responded to the question in the Q&A box. Colleagues, any other questions? I think it's an opportunity to get clarifications on any gray areas. I think we do not have any more hands, any more questions. I think we covered the time. We passed like 2 minutes, so let me give back the floor to Dr. Kola.
There's a question.
There is.
Yes. Shall we have follow-up meetings before June 21 to make sure all member states are not having difficulties accessing the tools? I think this is something that COLA will have to organize in the region, follow-up calls with member states.
Yes, thank you so
Thanks.
much. I think I'm going to do that. For instance, after today, on Thursday, we are going to have member state briefing, which I believe that there will be more questions, and of course, partners will also be on that call on Thursday, because they are also very critical to what we do regarding the SPAR submission. They support SPAR process in the country too. I'm going to do that and closely follow with the member states. Yes, and perhaps if we can also have another session before the deadline, so that would be helpful, depending on the feedback that we get from the countries. I'll do that. Thank you for that. And I think if there are no comments again from colleagues on the call, and Dr. La, thank you very much for that great facilitation of the moderation of the Q&A session. So going forward, based on what we have had so far from the 8Q team, and of course, based on the clarification that we have provided to different questions, the critical next steps moving forward. Number one, I'm going to share the draft SPAR tool, maybe through the link, and a feedback template to the regional office colleagues, because so that they can begin to look at it and provide their inputs. And we are supposed to have another meeting on Thursday. That's member state information session, to also align and provide structured feedback too. After which we are going to also share with them these tools to begin to get their feedback, and we are going to closely follow up. We also urge our colleagues in the country office to also support in this process of ensuring that we get feedback from our colleagues from the member states, from the relevant institutions. From our side, as highlighted earlier, we are going to compile and consolidate feedback at the regional level and share with the 8Q. As I said earlier, maybe the best approach, which I think from what has been presented so far, is to use a common link for people to provide their feedback. And from there, we can consolidate and the feedback and share with the 8Q for finalization. So the 8Q is also expected to review and finalize the SPAR integrating regional inputs, not only for AFRO, and like as stated earlier, other regions have also started engaging their member states to get feedback. Based on the timeline presented earlier by Dr. Roland, we expect that the clearance, the translation and reporting will be completed with official launch or submission by October 1st, 2026. I think this is what we have, and although we didn't have it on the agenda list, based on these next steps, I would like to also invite maybe Dr. Raj to give a closing remarks. And thanks, colleagues, for your patience and for your contribution to this important discourse. Over to you, Dr. Raj, for just a closing remarks.
So just thank you to everyone for their time, and of course, thank you to Roberta, Roland, Margot, and everyone that has supported this work here, including the technical teams. So just know it. I know you've got experts in the regional office that are already there. But if there are any questions that come up, feel free to ask us about this. If there are questions that needed to be added to the FAQs, let us know, and then we'll add that to the FAQs, and this might be useful for other regions or other states parties. But thank you again for your time, and see some of you again on Thursday.
Thank you very much, and thanks to Dr. Bukhari for your support. Thank you, and
Always.
see you.
Thank you, Dr. Bukhari, as well.
See you on Thursday. Bye. Thanks to Dr. Latson. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Dr. Lat.
Bye.
All good, Kola?
Thanks. Bye.